Look, I brought him for you. I give you this book. Between these covers is a whole library. Read it, and he will help you.
Oh, thank you. I'll try.
And you are not angry with the blundering professor who takes the wrong time for his lectures?
No, I'm so grateful. And I'm happy that you would talk to me,
Mr. March, I sometimes get from a friend seats for the Academy of Music. Would you accompany me sometimes?
Oh, I'd love it. In the following weeks, we went out often together, to concerts, then to plays and museums and operas. Forgotten were the weekly volcano and the curse of the Coventrys. But instead, I was suddenly filled with the beauty of Mozart, Beethoven, Rembrandt, and Leonardo. Filled, and a little giddy, too, perhaps. I remember one evening as we came back late to the boarding house in the hall downstairs.
Oh, it is good to see you so flushed and happy.
Oh, I've had a wonderful time, Professor. I've made up my mind. I've decided to be an opera singer.
Wait, don't decide yet. After the circus, you felt a bareback ride that was the most beautiful of all careers. And after the museum, you decided to be a painter and...
But I'm going to be all of them. Oh, Professor, you're fun to be with. I wish you could meet my family. They'd enjoy you. I keep writing them all about you.
You do?
Oh, yes, and they always ask questions about you in their letters.
Indeed?
Oh, yes. For example, when... Why, look at that. A telegram for me. Mrs. Kirk must have left it here. Oh, no.
My little friend, what is it?
It's my sister, Beth. Mother says I must come home right away.
I'm very sorry.
Yes, I'll pack tonight. I'll leave on the morning train.
What can I do for you?
Well, you'll be busy with your lessons in the morning.
But when will I see you? You will be back?
Well, I don't know, Professor. You see, the writing, the weekly volcano and all that, I burned those up. There's nothing left of all that work but ashes. All that is finished. And if I'm not going to write those, I can't really afford to live here.
I can't tell you how all this grieves me.
Professor, will you come and see us sometime?
May I? Shall I?
Yes, I want you to.
Tell me, your sister and that friend in Europe, are they back yet?
They're on their way, I think.
I see.
Yes. This is awfully sudden, isn't it?
Terribly sudden.
Poor Beth. What do we hear from Amy, Mommy?
She'll be home next month. Tell me something, Joe.
What, Mommy?
Would it hurt you terribly if you learned that Laurie had learned to care for somebody else?
Amy?
Well, I was only reading between the lines. Amy's letters have said a lot about Laurie, and we've had letters from Laurie, too, full of Amy.
Laurie and Amy.
Would it hurt you terribly?
Wouldn't I be selfish if it did? Laurie and Amy. It's wonderful, isn't it, Mommy? It's right, isn't it? It's really fine.
I hope you feel that way, because that's how I think it will be.
Mommy was right. Laurie and Amy came back husband and wife, hilariously happy, knowing that they always really loved each other and always had been meant for each other. And they set up housekeeping in a beautiful little house nearby. Then there were just Beth and I.
Sit with me, Joe.
I'll never leave you, Bethy.
Joe, you always reminded me of a seagull, fond of the wind and dreaming of flying far out to sea. Mommy said I was more like a cricket, chirping contentedly at home. I guess very soon I'll be home forever.
Beth closed her eyes. She slept quietly, and she never woke again. And we laid her to rest. Then it was November. The snow fell quietly and gently in our town. Our house was very quiet. But soon there began preparations for another Christmas, and Meg and Amy, Brooke and Laurie were in and out. And I didn't know which was harder to bear, the loneliness or the laughter. I only know that I began to go for long walks. And sometimes I went up into the garret again, where I'd written my very first stories and wrote a few words. And one time I showed them to Mommy and Father.
Why, dear, this is fine. It's
Joe,
so different.
It's beautiful.
Why, Father, you have a tear in your eye.
It's so fine, Joe.
But this isn't anything. It's nothing I've done. It's just everything about you and Mommy and Meg and Amy and Betty. Things I remembered you all saying and doing. And I sent it off, and it was printed at once. And again I went tramping through the winter snow. Only the snow was turning to sleet and rain, and the world was dismal. I was very, very lonely. Except that everywhere was the merriment of Christmas. And then, just a step from home...
Miss Joe!
Professor!
Miss Joe, I come to see you.
Oh, my friend. My friend. How did you know? How did you know I wanted to see you above all else?
I said I would come.
Yes, and you have. I hoped you would.
But what do you do without any umbrella in this terrible weather? Here, come under mine.
I will. Here
That's
I am. It's turned to rain.
And raining harder.
Come to our house is just this way. Oh, Professor, how did you happen to come?
I have been invited by a nearby college to discuss a position they offer me.
Christopher Columbus, that's fine.
Also, I read somewhere one of your stories. It made me feel you had found yourself and were no more restless and discontented.
But my name wasn't on that story.
It was about your family, no?
Yes, it was. It was.
You have told me of them, and at once I recognized them. And I knew it was you, a different you.
That's right. Thanks to you, Professor. Oh, I've missed you so. I've been so lonely for you.
Is that true?
Yes, Professor.
Then, would it be possible?
Yes.
Do you think that you and I...
Yes, Professor?
Here, hold the umbrella over you. You are getting wet.
I'm all right. Please go on with what you were saying, Professor.
This is your house?
Yes, this is our home, Professor.
They're making music inside.
Yes, they're all together.
Perhaps I'm through.
No, please don't go. Don't go. Come in, Professor.
Joe, before we go in...
Yes.
I want to ask you...
Yes.
Oh, how stupid of me. I meant to stop at some stores for presents for you and your family. And now, Joe, I come with empty arms.
Not empty now, Professor.
Joe, I love you.
Heart's dearest. Welcome home.
The curtain has fallen on the Theatre Guild production, Little Women, presented by U.S. Steel and starring Katharine Hepburn. If you'd like program notes and cast list of tonight's Theatre Guild on the Air, prepared for each broadcast with information about the play and the players, simply address U.S. Steel Corporation, Radio Department, 71 Broadway, New York 6, New York. The staff for the Theatre Guild on the Air includes Homer Fickett, Director, George Condolph, Producer, and Armina Marshall, Executive Director of the Radio Department. Music for tonight's play was composed and conducted by Harold Levy, and the play adapted for radio by Eric Barnow. Your announcer, Norman Brokenshire.